Eduardo Bolsonaro grabbed his bags and left. He abandoned his position as a federal deputy with a salary of almost 50,000 reais and went to the United States, where he now lives a super rich life. Who is paying for this? Could it be the money that was supposed to be for the movie? And that went to Havergate in Texas, which is managed by Paulo Carlisto, Eduardo Bolsonaro's lawyer, whose first payment, 10 million, was in February. And Eduardo Bolsonaro also went to the United States in February and never came back. He lives a wealthy life in the US. Who's paying the bill? My dear and my darling. We did the math. It came to what, about 300 plus 300 more and 350 million, right? That's from what's been revealed so far. Let me tell you something. If that's more or less what's being revealed, you can multiply that, actually not multiply. You can add that amount 3 more times. Andrea Gonçalves, I'm not joking. I've told you this before and I'll repeat it. The amount of money involved with this criminal organization, it could easily reach 1 billion reais. It was the biggest corruption scheme in the Bolsonaro family. Their eyes sparkled, they were very greedy, and they left a trail behind, and now the federal police are following that trail. Do you understand, my dear? Do you think that a person who is not rich in theory, and give up a job that pays almost 50,000 reais a month to go starve in the United States? No. The scheme, from what it seems, was as follows. Flavio stays to solicit and collect the money. Eduardo goes to receive the money abroad. And why do I say that? Because that's what seems to have happened. The audio that Intercept revealed. Flavio wasn't asking Daniel for money. Flavio was demanding money from Daniel, the guy. That money didn't go to Golap. The money went to Havergate in Texas, where Eduardo Bolsonaro is living, and the person in charge is Paulo Carlisto. Whose lawyer? It's not yours. Not mine either. Eduardo Bolsonaro's. And according to the calculations we did, it went over 350 million from what is being discussed and revealed. You can be sure that you can multiply, triple, or even quadruple that amount. And everything came to the surface, and they dove right in because a lot of money, many millions came in. They cashed in big time and gorged themselves. And everything comes to the surface. The situation is so serious that even today, the Attorney General has not spoken out. Alexandre de Moraes notified the Attorney General so that he could make a statement. It's to include Flavio Bolsonaro and Bolsonaro in the investigation of Eduardo Bolsonaro. What appeared was a new fact, a supervening fact. What fact is that, Andrea Gonçalves? Apparently the source of funding, the source that financed it. And that finances finance. And it finances Eduardo Bolsonaro there in the United States today, especially his move to the United States at the end of February last year. Right after 10 million went into Havergate's account there in Texas. The financier of Eduardo Bolsonaro appeared, supporting him in committing crimes. Of the crime of coercion in the course of legal proceedings, in which there is already even a registration date. The trial on the 16th will be the final judgment in Eduardo Bolsonaro's case before the first panel of the Federal Supreme Court regarding this situation. His case is already moving forward, and this new fact appears about the possible source of funding. And who was the one asking for money? Flavio Bolsonaro. The Attorney General was summoned to respond and make a statement within 5 days. It's already been more than 10 days and the Attorney General still hasn't made a statement. Still, Andrea, why? Because there is evidentiary support that this is a fact. Because if there wasn't, he would have already spoken out and said, look, Alexandre de Moraes, I don't think one thing has anything to do with the other. No, the two things aren't related. There's no evidence. Nothing connects them, okay? And he would have already come down hard and said, file this away. We're not going to add Flavio Bolsonaro. There's nothing like that. No. So far, he hasn't spoken out. Why? Because he's asking for evidence. He's asking for information from the federal police about this here. Do you have any evidence? What's going on? What's the situation? Because I need to speak out. And if he hasn't spoken out until now, it's because there is supporting evidence. That Flavio Bolsonaro is involved, along with Eduardo Bolsonaro, in the corruption scheme, money laundering, bribery payments, which financed Eduardo to commit crimes of coercion against the federal Supreme Court justices, with the tariff hike, with the application of the Magnitsky Act, with the suspension of visas for authorities. Guys, let me tell you something. The Bolsonaro family has fallen prey to its greatest weakness. Money, a forest, millions, corruption, and they dove right in. Thank you. And there's no way to run away from this now. For you to have an idea, Flavio's salary kickback scheme, which only didn't move forward because the Rio de Janeiro Court of Justice understood that the judge, from the first instance, who requested the initial lifting of secrecy, did not properly justify the decision. And 2 appellate judges out of 3 from Rio de Janeiro, and they said the evidence was invalid, it couldn't be used. This went to the Superior Court of Justice. The Superior Court confirmed it, and the whole case is shelved there at the Court of Justice of Rio de Janeiro, where the evidence was accepted. Transfer. How many transfers did you get, Andrea? I won't forget. 1,512 transfers. Bank transfers, all done at the ATM. And all with a maximum amount of 3,000 reais so they wouldn't attract attention, without identifying the person making the deposit. And where were many of these deposits made? From the Legislative Assembly of Rio de Janeiro, in the Rachadinha scheme, which is the theft of part of the salaries of Flavio Bolsonaro's staff while he was a state representative. So guess where the money went? Money to Flavio's chocolate shop, which, according to the Rio de Janeiro Public Prosecutor's Office, was being used as a sort of front to receive the deposits from Flavio's Rachadinha scheme. Do you know how much Flavio's Rachadinha scheme totaled? 2 million reais. Flavio lowered his head and showed his butt because of 2 million reais back then. How long ago, Andre? 8 years ago. Do you think so? That he lowered everything now. He bowed his head, bent over, he caved completely. Sorry for the expression. He caved completely because we're talking about millions and millions and millions and millions of reais. Who knows? Maybe soon we'll find out it reached 1 billion. And he dove right in. He embraced it. Did you understand? And he left a trail. Frontmen, fake companies, sham contracts. That Karina herself, it was a bunch of fraudulent invoices. There's no way the police won't catch them. There's no way. And they will catch them. Even Lindenberg Farias said Tico. It's just that his calculation is no longer up to date with the new facts that are coming out. Like, for example, the revelation from DCM that I explained to you. But let's show it here. Let's show it because it's absurd. Some are still trying to cover it up. Wait, wasn't your problem corruption? Now you're covering up for Flavio? Are you going to tell me it's not a scheme? Oh, pay attention, pay attention. Pay attention. Have you already hit the like button?
The production company behind Bolsonaro's movie has already pocketed more than 251 million. That's not a production company. It's money laundering. It's a money laundering front. Stay tuned. Stay tuned? We thought it was 61 million paid by Forcado directly to Eduardo Bolsonaro's Ravigate fund. Actually, with the Intercept article yesterday, we found out that there were two more payments of over $1.6 million, bringing the total to 78 million at the São Paulo City Hall to make those Wi-Fi contracts, which weren't all completed. There were supposed to be 108, but they paid for 157. 56. So we're going to add 78 to 157. But there's still more, because there are 5 million from Governor Ibanez's government in Brasilia that were also paid to the production company. Then there are 7 million from SESI and 4.8 million from budget amendments. And for sure more will show up. Altogether, folks, that adds up to 251 million reais. I've been saying that.
He didn't include it in the calculation. Pay attention. Lindenberg Farias didn't include this week's revelation from DCM in the calculation. DCM revealed that Karina won public tenders in at least 50 municipalities and some states. Among those 50, the contract values exceeded 100 million reais. DCM released this week. So you can add this here, another 100 million reais from Karina Gama's production company. Wow. She's powerful, huh?
That's right. That said, this group won't survive. You know that Mario Frias and Eduardo Bolsonaro, Flavio, said a month ago that they wanted to explain how the money that went to Texas came back to make the movie. So far, it's been silence. There's no explanation. There isn't, and they won't give one. Because that money was used to keep Eduardo Bolsonaro abroad conspiring, hiring a lobbying law firm to stage a coup against Brazil. The producer of Bolsonaro's movie,
Where's Flavio, guys? Where's Flavio, who's silent and quiet? Where's the film's financial report? Especially because, according to Mario Frias himself, he said he had other investors, that it wasn't just Bocaro's money, that it wasn't just this situation, that there were other investors. In the documents revealed by The Intercept, just so you know, there was the following. Anyone who invested $1 million in the film would get the green card process started. As a reward. Yeah, it was there. I saw it in The Intercept. That whoever invested $1 million in the movie would have the green card process guaranteed. What is the green card, Andrea Gonçalves? It's the right to live in the United States. You would win that prize. In other words, there are other investors who invested in the movie. Where is the list of investors in the movie that hasn't been revealed yet? They're going to have to reveal it. Who invested in the movie? How many millions were invested? Besides those amounts of almost 80 million, 78 million, which Intercept revealed in the spreadsheet the day before yesterday. Where is it? They haven't revealed it yet. Where are the receipts for the money transfer from the Havagate Fund, from Eduardo Bolsonaro's lawyer Bolsonaro? The money that Daniel Borcaro sent to this fund. Where are the receipts showing that the money went into the movie? Guys, look, ask the question like Rubia. The question and the comment, mark it as highlighted, and I'll answer it at 8 p.m. today. Every day at 8 p.m., I'll answer the highlighted questions live with you, okay? The link to the questions channel will be in the description and in the first comment. So, highlight your question because I'll answer it today at 8 p.m. So, where's the proof? The only ones who have shown proof so far with evidence exposing and showing the connection between the Bolsonaro family and Daniel Borcaro's criminal organization were The Intercept. Where's the evidence from Flavio and Mario Frias about the transfers for the movie? Who are the investors? Where are they? So far, nothing. And Flavio Bolsonaro is silent. In fact, there's a group, they're pressuring Flavio to drop out of the race. Why, Andre? Because he lives in a glass house and has a lot to hide. But according to Tony De Paula, a right-wing federal deputy who's been criticizing Flavio, he said Flavio won't drop out because they want to impose themselves. Bolsonarism wants to impose itself and is imposing itself on the right and the center. And that he won't give up, and with that, he will defeat any and every chance the right has to at least take down Lula. That's what they want. And that the biggest enemy of the right and the center today is Flavio Bolsonaro himself. So Flavio, so he doesn't fall too far behind and to create a smokescreen besides the situation with Donald Trump attacking PICS and the new big tariff that came up, now he's reviving that whole tough on crime line.
A good criminal
is a dead criminal. Watch out. Watch out, Flavio. Watch out. If a good criminal is a dead criminal, be careful. You really have to wear a vest, right? But anyway. So Flavio doesn't show up to explain anything. Neither Mario Frias nor anyone else. No one shows up. When anyone does show up, it's Paulo Figueiredo and Eduardo Bolsonaro. Both because they're abroad in hiding. It's easy for them to show up then. Then they try to justify everything. No, everything's fine. Where are the documents to prove it? No, the money went to the movie. Where's the proof of transfers to the movie? No, we didn't take any money. Who's paying for Eduardo Bolsonaro's 6 million raised house in Texas? They don't explain anything. They don't show any documents, and they just keep talking nonsense. One moment they lie, then later they deny the very lie they told. They even told me that's why Flavio is staying quiet. Because he has nothing to explain. If he tries to explain, he'll end up lying. And if he lies, The Intercept will expose him the next day. With documents, in fact. And we know that what has been revealed so far is just the beginning. It's just a bit of the evidence that the federal police has, which The Intercept already has as well. Ay. Paulo Figueiredo tried to justify this situation. Then the Bolsonaro supporter made a video and said, look, there's no way anymore. It can't be justified anymore. Flavio has to explain. Not anymore. Let's check this out. It's interesting. Among themselves, there's a split happening among Flavio's supporters. Flavio has to explain himself. Do you know Senator Eduardo Girão? He took part in an interview and he also spoke. No way, Flavio has to explain this situation. We can't keep covering for him anymore. And this Bolsonarist here also spoke up. As for Paulo Figueiredo, from what's coming out, there's no justifying him anymore. Flavio has to explain this situation or lay it all out on the table right away. And he really got involved in the scheme. Obviously, they're not going to do that, but it doesn't even convince the Bolsonaro group anymore. Look here, a diehard Bolsonaro supporter.
Paulo Figueiredo, let's remember, the one who had posted, "There's not a cent from Vorcaro for the film." No, everyone who said otherwise is going to be proven wrong. Premature celebration and blah, blah, blah. He didn't give in, even after everything that came out. Even after the messages from that Tiago Miranda guy, from Flavio himself, right? So, and what about the installments? Everything with the one they summoned. Now we have the receipts for the transfers. As if that weren't enough, here's what Paulo Figueiredo wrote. Absolutely, absolutely nothing is being denied. On the contrary, it's being proven that the payments were made by Entrim, which didn't belong to Daniel Vorcaro, but over which he apparently had some kind of influence or control. Frontmen? All of this was already known. Have they gone into desperation mode? That's a great sign. It means they're out of ammunition. Guys, again, defeating Lula has always been and continues to be the priority. But in my opinion, that can't mean that we all have to become sly and deceitful like Paulo Figueiredo. There lies the gap between serious journalism, which some people try to do, even exposing their bias, their political party preference, and the activist, the openly militant one, the campaigner or public relations person for a candidate. Pretending that there was no money from Daniel Vorcaro for the movie, after everything that's already known, and which is Flavio's own line of defense. It wasn't just for the movie, and everything is treating the public as fools. The problem is that maybe Paulo Figueiredo's audience is idiotic or wants to be deceived. After all, Lula has to be defeated, so anything goes.
But there's a catch.
Paulo Figueiredo.
Let's remember the one with Constantino here. He's kind of making excuses too, right? Because we have to swap Paulo Figueiredo's name for Flavio Bolsonaro. Paulo Figueiredo's audience is Eduardo Bolsonaro's audience, which is also Flavio Bolsonaro's audience. He's avoiding attacking Flavio directly, but Paulo Figueiredo is a proxy for Flavio Bolsonaro and Eduardo Bolsonaro. And if there's anything shady, if there is, it's this whole situation. We're talking about the whole organization that Constantino himself is part of. Or maybe he's not part of it anymore. He's leaving the sinking ship. And this kind of talk is becoming more and more common every day among Bolsonaro's supporters. They're covering their own backs. I believe some of them really don't want to be allied with the corrupt one, while others might be afraid because they're also involved in the scheme. Those who are involved in the scheme, many of them are staying quiet. Right, Silas? Many are tucking their tails between their legs and staying quiet. After all, there's nothing to say. If there's something to say, they'll have to say it. Just like Constantino will have to tell the truth, Flavio Bolsonaro has to explain himself. But there's no explanation to give. He even tried. Interesting, isn't it? When the first audio came out, Flavio tried to explain himself, but his explanation quickly fell apart. And he got caught lying again, and that's Flavio's fear, being caught lying again. That's why he's staying quiet. And he's gonna keep quiet because he's got a lot to hide. That's the situation, but people aren't stupid. Did you see? Yesterday's Quest poll showed Lula going up. And in the poll, they asked questions about this new discovery. about Flavio's involvement with Eduardo, with Borcaro, him asking Borcaro for money and all that. I keep wondering what the Superior Electoral Court is going to do now. Are they going to censor yesterday's poll too? Because the poll from May 19th, where Lula was almost 13 percentage points ahead of Flavio, was censored by Nunes Marques. And the Superior Electoral Court is going to decide on this situation, in which Minister Estela asked for time to review the case. And now Nunes Marques is going to ban yesterday's poll, because yesterday's poll asked the question specifically about Flavio Bolsonaro's involvement with Daniel Borcaro. Borcaro, I already said it. You can, Andre, you can. It's not a lie. If it were a lie, if Flavio came and said, that's not my voice, that's not me, that's a lie, it couldn't be broadcast. And Nunes Marques at the TSC would be right. But the conversation between Flavio and Borcaro is real. It's true. Flavio demanding money from Daniel Borcaro is true. No one can censor the truth. This is showing up in the election polls because people aren't stupid. Let's look specifically at that impact, and I ask you, will Nunes Marques block this poll? And I'll explain something to you. The Supreme Federal Court, depending on the stance of Nunes Marques and Andre Mendonça, will block the TSC. And yes, Andrea Gonçalves, yes, I'll explain this to you first. Let's see here one of the people responsible at Quest explaining what was done in the research and that the facts were presented. What facts, Andrea, about the connection between Flavio Bolsonaro and Daniel Borcaro when the research was done? And I ask you again, are they going to block the research? Pay attention.
This happened after the audio was revealed. Andrade, come here. The Bolsonaro family, who had 11% in March, went down to 9%, fluctuated in May, and look what happened now.
The 16 points.
In other words, the responsibility of the master with the entire political system remains high, but the responsibility over the Bolsonaro family has increased significantly. So part of what we're seeing, this negative fluctuation, this drop, is a reflection of how Brazilians interpret this. The second important element here is, let me ask to go back, is the effect of the movie, right? We asked Brazilians, I think the big screen isn't showing, I asked the production team to check, right? We asked Brazilians, did you know about the conversations and negotiations between Flavio Bolsonaro and Daniel Borcaro? 55% found out they know about it. Sadi, that's a high percentage considering we're talking about a very important political event. The data is real because you're far away.
You said you're not in the campaign, but people are, so they know what we're talking about. Good.
So what's the point? We asked later, did Flavio get it right or wrong by asking Borcaro for funding? 65% of Brazilians say that Flavio Bolsonaro was wrong. He shouldn't have done it.
We don't have that screen, please, so we can...
It's for some reason. Here, the big screen isn't responding to the tablet.
So please repeat.
So look, 65%...
Turn the tablet off and on again. Here.
65% of Brazilians say that Flavio Bolsonaro was wrong to ask Borcaro for funding. Why do Brazilians recognize that there was a mistake? For a simple reason. In the Sadi survey, we evaluated whether people think that Flavio already knew that Borcaro could be a problem if he was already involved in some corruption issue, and Brazilians say yes. Most of them, 54%, say that Flavio should have already known it was a problem.
So
look how interesting. When we combine all this data, we can clearly see that it's the population. It saw Banco Master as a system crisis, but punished the Bolsonaro family more than it did before. And regarding the movie, it's very clear the movie is the Flavio Bolsonaro was wrong to make the request he made. So this is well documented. That's not the point being discussed right now, what happened. Guys, because in Brazil...
Flavio isn't, no, he's not going to ban this research from being published either. Because here they went straight to the point and did the research based on what was revealed. So Nunes Marques, here's the thing. Who can block a decision from the TSC? The Federal Supreme Court. Only the Federal Supreme Court has the power to block the Superior Electoral Court through an appeal, which we call an ordinary appeal. All decisions made by the Superior Electoral Court are subject to appeal in the Federal Supreme Court. And the Federal Supreme Court can overturn the decisions of the Superior Electoral Court, just as the Supreme Court can overturn the decisions of the STJ, the Superior Court of Justice, just as the Supreme Court can overturn the decisions of the STM, the Superior Military Court, just as the Supreme Court can overturn the decisions of the Superior Labor Court, exactly because these structures are here. And the Supreme Court is here. Did you understand, my dear? So if abuses start happening, especially by the president of the Superior Electoral Court, Nunes Marquez, and by the vice president, Andre Mendonça, this will end up in the Federal Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court will overturn these decisions because, as I told you, could Nunes Marquez suspend the poll? He could. If the fact that led to the poll result was false, in other words, Flavio Bolsonaro's relationship with Vocaro, if that relationship didn't exist, if the audio was fake and all of this was a lie, Nunes Marquez could suspend it, censor the poll. But the fact is true, acknowledged by Flavio Bolsonaro himself. So this poll couldn't be blocked, the one from May 16th, 16th, and 19th. Why? Because if that poll, according to Nunes Marquez, had to be censored, yesterday's was a slap in the face to the Superior Electoral Court. Because Quest made a point of going public, as I just showed you, and saying that, yes, they did ask about the true facts of Daniel Vocaro's relationship with Flavio Bolsonaro, where more than 60% of people said that Flavio was wrong. Flavio couldn't have been asking. He wasn't even asking. He was demanding money from Daniel Vocaro. More than 50% knew what was happening. And that Flavio was fully aware, according to the poll, the people who were surveyed, that Flavio was fully aware that Daniel Vocaro was a criminal. And that even so, he went to ask Daniel for money, which I repeat, wasn't a request. He was collecting money from Daniel Vocaro. And then, what is the Superior Electoral Court going to do now? Do you understand, my dear? It was an embarrassing decision. Because if they do and censor polls for telling the truth and showing the facts, they'll censor them all, like yesterday's. It's a shame, and this could end up in the Federal Supreme Court. Join the WhatsApp group here. You don't have to pay anything. You just need to have WhatsApp. Whenever there's a new live, I'll send you a notification. Ask your question to be highlighted during the 8:30 and 12:30 lives, and I'll answer it at 8 p.m. from Monday to Friday right here. Let me show you here on this channel, right here, Q&A, Andrea Gonçalves. You ask the question and I'll answer it. In fact, yesterday I answered 5 questions. And very interesting questions. Questions from people who needed clarification. Interesting questions. I advise you to take a look. The link will be in the first comment. All right, for all situations, take a look at the first comment. And if you're going to buy anything on Mercado Libre, Magazine Luiza, or Shopee, use the link that will also be in the video description and in the first comment. All right, and vote for Ibeste. Vote for Ibeste, it's important. And don't forget to leave your like, leave a comment, and share the live stream. Kisses. Thank you so much. Thank you.